Okay. Hello, good evening. I know most of you, good to meet new friends. My name is Kirk, and part of all the many things that's going on tonight, this weekend, is I work for a nonprofit called City Repair. We put on a annual event called the, did you do it for City Repair?
No, it was your personal.
Oh. Go back.
All right. Keep going. But, all right, we're doing it. It's happening. It's beautiful.
Check. Okay, it's working. So City Repair puts on an annual placemaking 10-day festival extravaganza. And
It's just Kirk.
Choose to age. Go live.
One day we'll just be the intravenous.
Ultra Cyborg. We're 2 Cyborg right now. So City Repair, it'll take me 10 times, but we'll get there. We put on an annual 10-day placemaking festival, and normally during these 10 days, during the daytime, we'd be doing like street paintings, like murals directly on the ground, doing helping communities do ecological landscaping, garden projects, like this beautiful rainwater garden on the side here, or this native scape that Southeast Uplift has. And then additionally, a wonderful kind of intersection of being here is another big thing that City Repair does is we help communities do natural building or earthen building. So out front of this building, there's 2 benches, and both of them are made out of cob, which is what?
Combination of blades, straw, and sand in the right order.
Yeah.
Structural material.
Ding, ding, ding. Give him a sticker. Give him a pin.
You get one. You get one later.
I get a pin?
You get something.
So we help. So normally there would be like this kind of barn raising event. It's harder to do that now. So we're not at this during this time frame helping communities install projects. But another part of what our annual event normally does have are events like this where we showcase work that other amazing organizations, nonprofits, community artists, like master artist Michael Bernard Stevenson Jr., like artist Matoska, and these guys. I gotta go like to the right to go to the screen. So we are excited to hear and to have Tin Can Phone be a part of the City Repair world, and we've been working with the crew for a while, and we're fiscally sponsoring them. And
who are our sponsors?
Yeah, so we use City Repair's nonprofit status to get money to these groups, and also we're here because Southeast Uplift has given us a grant to be able to fund this work. So, and who's Southeast Uplift? Who are you? What do you do?
So we build informed, participatory, and inclusive neighborhoods. And that's the work we do. And it's in part thanks to partnerships like this.
Ooh, and did you mention Oregon Humanities?
Tin Can Phone is also in part funded by Oregon Humanities. So thank you, Oregon Humanities. That was a grant given a year and a half ago that's coming to an end. And the group Tin Can Phone just recently received a placemaking grant from Metro, which will help this work to continue on. So also thank you, Metro, and a reminder that there is a porta potty out here, but also we have restrooms. If you go up the stairs, take your left and just go straight. The door immediately once you take a left there's 2 restrooms in there. And you know, we've got drinks in the cooler, some cans. In the brown dispenser, that's ice cold water, and there's some clean cups over there. Any questions about the space or any needs before we let these wonderful humans take over?
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and they'll say it, but we'll also be back here again tomorrow for the VBC, the Village Building Convergence, at 1 p.m.
Cool. Once again, we previously consented.
Yes.
Thanks again, Southeast Uplift. This is for you all and the recording. Love it. Okay, I think we're ready to start the episode. Are you guys ready? Yeah. You can use your voices too.
Get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's have it.
Roll it.
All right. If you all say speak up, I'll tell them to tell you to tell them. All right. Are you all ready? We're starting. Buddy, take one. That's for the editor.
Okay. Okay.
We made it. Oh, that happened last time. Don't worry, buddy. Fix
Run
it
it
in
back.
post.
Run it back.
They fuck with
All right. We're still doing it. We're actually ahead of schedule, sort of. Sorry. Just a part of the thing. This happens sometimes when we're alone in our bedrooms when we're doing this, but now we're doing it with everyone at the same time. It's streaming. It's a WAV file to keep the high quality. Okay. We lost, but he's coming back. There we go. He's dancing in.
I was feeling it.
Tin Can Phone, Mike and Armand, Joe, please, we the ones that you could depend on to bring the voices from the inside out. Locked down, but they not locked out. No filter over here. Check what we be talking about. Feet up in the trenches, Bob. While you're on the fences, metal detector before you enter. Shaky medical and see your bitches. They be pushing their weight around. Educate. Didn't have the time to wait around. Taking classes while they played around. That's what we call staying down. What we call staying down. That's what we call staying down. Mike, Armand, Joe, quick. Dang, this Tin Can Phone.
Please bring us in.
Hey man, Misfit, Adi, what's happening? Tin Can Phone, live in effect. Pretty boy Pustos, my motherfucking brother from the Middle Eastern. What's happening?
What's happening? Peace
Banging
in the
it.
Middle East. I don't know what the crowd looks like over there because I can't see them. But Blue and Michael sitting there dancing all
Looking good.
uncomfortably to that intro.
Classic
beautiful.
podcast.
That was beautiful. How are you guys doing though?
We're good.
Master
Armand,
artist?
We want you so badly to enhance your audio if you can figure it out, but it's going to be okay if you can't. Welcome me, you guys, Blue, the audience. This is a live recording of season 2, episode 1, the launch of Tin Can Phone season 1, which is now on the internet.
Yep.
It was on the internet before you knew, but it is really there now that you know it's there. No, you're the first people in the crowd to know that it's there. And by the time this gets heard by a broader public, it'll be a year later. We're airing live on KBOO starting June 1st, 10 a.m. every first Tuesday. Tune in. We are locked. Keep us locked, as Queez would say. And this is our compatriot Blue, who's going to join us as a host of this podcast in certain ways in season 2. And Blue, take it.
I'm just stoked to be here. I was on the first episode ever of Tin Can Phone, sharing about a gallery that Michael and I worked on through RAC. We were given a $17,000 grant to sort of beautify and work on the inside of the parole and probation office on the east side, 122nd. And Michael and I basically created this entire gallery for currently and formerly incarcerated artists. I made a bunch of original pieces. They are infused with the words of, wrongfully convicted people right there inside of that place. And Michael and I did a lot of work, and I just really appreciated Queez and Armand and Michael bringing me on. And I'm just glad to be here to kind of like celebrate that season and usher in a new one. And then continue the work that we're doing together to kind of raise awareness. And I'm really excited to hear what they have to say about some of my questions. So that's what we're here for.
You prepared questions. I love it.
Yeah,
This
I
guy,
got
he was
some
like, how do I
questions.
prepare? I was like, you got this.
Yeah.
And you really did.
Heck yeah.
So
Hey,
thanks for that. Thanks
first
for
and
bringing
foremost-
us in. I also want to say that my mom is on the internet audience, and she texted me and said, "Fix your collar," and I was like, "Great, all right, we are having a party now." Thanks,
doing
Mom. Take it away, my friend.
Right on. Quiz, Armand. It's good to see you guys again. It was great talking to you the other day.
Good to see you. Can you guys hear me? Am I in there?
Mostly, but really, you want to be speaking in it hard. I see your face isn't sucking on that mic.
That's nice to
I
have.
mean, I'm
you.
eating this damn mic.
You
That's
can, like,
helpful.
they can see us seeing them.
I think the neighbor's
So-
gonna get concerned if I get louder.
This guy.
So I have some questions for you guys, but I want to give you this time just to kind of share about your experience with season 1 and maybe what your dreams are for the future of Tin Can Phone. But to start, I think it'd be really cool to hear about what it was like that first time that you heard that Michael was going to be able to bring in a recording device and sort of get this thing started.
And maybe Quiz start, and Armand, you should probably like unplug and reboot your mic or something. But Quiz, hit it. What do you got? Yeah, that's a new friend.
Hey, Misfit, man.
Quiz?
Look,
Yeah, there you go.
first and foremost, man, it's an honor, Blue. You've been rocking with us from the beginning. So off top, just how you feel about being with us, that's how we feel about you being with us. You feel me? So it's most definitely an honor. Like my introduction was, could y'all hear me?
Yeah, but you got to try.
Okay. Hey, my introduction was like Great American Stories. So about time I was introduced to what was going on, they already had the recording in there. You know, Armand approached me. We had already had small conversations before just throughout the institution, but he approached me like, hey, you know, we doing this thing, interviewing these dudes. You feel me? Like, again, this is something that, you know, I was doing on the streets as far as music and being interviewed and speaking this word and understanding the power of words and understanding the power of conversation. So when Armand approached me with it, you know, I didn't get to meet Mike. I didn't meet Mike until the day of in their interview going on. You know, our other brother Joe, shouts out Joe, he was getting interviewed and I was able to sit in. So like Armand already had it jumping. So Armand would actually be better for this answer. He already had it jumping when I came in. The recording was already in and it was already a go time for that by then.
Nice. Was Armand, are you dialed in with your audio? Can we
I'm
hear you if
hoping
you
so.
talk?
I'm really hoping so. I got some things to say. Is it working? Yeah. Is it? Are we kind of working?
You again, just keep trying as hard as you can, and we're here with you in spirit.
Yeah. Well, thank you. No, I mean, when we started the project in there, it was just a random idea. I seen so many people living really interesting lives and not really seeing the value of their life kind of in this larger narrative of the American story, you know? And Michael heard me, we were talking about it at one point, and then he's just like, you know, if we could start recording this, I think that'd be really cool. I said, yeah, that'd be super dope. Like, not only would I get to make a project, but I'd be able to like put a spotlight on people around me and help out in that way. So I hope you guys can hear me. But yeah, no, it's definitely meant a lot. And it's just crazy to see where we've come right now with this whole project, because it really saw good our life in little factions, at least getting a little snippet.
Hey,
Armand, you said kind of like, and Quiz, that it started with an idea. Like, what was that idea?
Man, the idea was just like recording people. I like giving each of us a voice. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's just a normal story that I would see every single day of kind of like, this is how you're supposed to live life in this kind of institution. And then I was realizing that a lot of things people were telling me about their lives was way more interesting than any of that. So I wanted to capture that, talking to my, you know, brothers that were in there, and that's what we did.
And we're on a delay, so our visual.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a few other, questions, and I want you guys to feel that you can just chime in with the things that are important to you. But I was wondering what some of your favorite moments or one of your favorite moments from season 1 was that you might want to share.
all right, I'll go. First and foremost, just in the beginning of creating Tin Can Phone, just trying to come up with the different names. Because we knew that it was a spin-off of a Great American Stories. It wasn't going to be the same thing. It wasn't the same platform as Great American Stories. So just trying to come up with the name and really, like, me and Joe, really was into like this project is like really finna be something. Like we knew from the beginning that like it was really something special, right? But like stripping the blues, I remember one of the names was stripping the blues. Um, so just like just coming up with and like understanding. I think I talked to Armand a couple times like about because I'm a freestyler, so I don't really plan. I don't write questions. I don't, anything I do, I'm just like put me there and we gonna do it. But then like learning that I had to write down like a guideline, and Michael and Joe teaching me how to really structure, not saying that I got to stay on script and say every word off a piece of paper, but how to guide, just they taught me what interviewing, and they taught me social, because I did 10 years. So at the time of meeting them, I was in the end of that. And so like like they taught me how to be, and be around and conduct myself around, and like Armand, that was a blessing. You was a blessing, boy. You taught me them lessons, like, you feel me, that I carry on to this day. But yeah, just like learning how it go was interesting for season 1. But I got some funny stories after Armand answered though.
And Armand, I just want to contextualize for all the listeners, present and future. The term Great American Stories is coming up, and is interesting in this moment. I actually am realizing that in the first season, we don't actually talk about this because we were becoming Tin Can Phone. But when what the guys are describing is I came in with a small Zoom recorder to the prison, which was a whole process. In fact, when I started going there, I was actually just doing drawings of people as a way of capturing being there, because you kind of like get the shakedown and everything. And so after developing a relationship with the prison, we were able to like bring stuff, cameras and whatever, and like you sign it in and you gotta apply. It's like a whole process, and there's a whole shakedown socially, and then at the end actually became convivial with the guys in a way that's uncomfortable also. Um, but anyway, Armand had the idea, as he described, and through this other direction from the outside was able to bring the resources in to start capturing these stories. And what Queez was explaining is that through the process of this initial phase, we created 12 interviews that are essentially in bondage, because we recorded them inside, and because even though they're like on this computer, they're not legally allowed to be utilized until there's a process. And that really slowed it down. And then COVID happened, and at that point all the guys got out of prison, and so we started recording Tin Can Phone newly.
Hey,
And
free
over a
material.
year recorded the first season. And so we're launching now after 3 years of like doing all this stuff. And so again, what Queez was explaining is that when we were doing this recording, we have a compatriot, Joe, who's not here at this time, but remains in spiritly a part of the project. And between working with us, he was learning through the process of just doing the project. So that is a piece of the story that was just missing. And Armand, feel free to further contextualize.
Oh no, I just took my thing off mute, but I mean, you did a really great job at summarizing. That's what Michael always does. Like we can be going through a certain situation, and Michael does a good job of kind of peeling back layers and showing us. So I think one of many things he does good for sure.
That's what they pay me the bucks, some bucks.
I think that's the thing that I've learned about Michael as well, especially within this context. Oh, sorry, Armand, go ahead.
We're on the delay.
Is that it's about creating like a space for your voice and for your creativity, no matter what that is, whether it's the comedy class that he helped to facilitate with other members of the PSU Art and Social Practice program, or various other things. And this is one of those things that seems like it's all about voice. Is that what it means to you? Was it a difference between like how the system kind of muted you versus this kind of like amplifying, or what was that like?
Would you like to go, brother?
No, you go, Queez. I was sitting back in the pocket waiting for you to go. I was like, let's see what he has to say.
I just gotta check.
We have a plane. Enunciate.
All right.
Like an airplane.
Like, yeah, we are having sound pollution live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to let the plane do its thing.
We need the
You know.
Bose speaker.
Yeah,
I have it.
no bedroom voice. Hit it.
But could you repeat the question?
So go ahead.
Could you repeat the question?
Repeat the question.
Yeah, just like how do you feel like this project gave you a voice where the system kind of maybe may have made you feel muted? Did it? Is it that contrast, or what was this project for you?
Most definitely. I just remember asking Michael, like, what's your intent, bro? Like, you get the work, you like what's our work? Like, what we doing? Like, and I remember him saying, like, we are the work. And whatever is produced from us is the work, but like we are the work. Like we, no matter what we choose to do, it was just about getting us like I always say, once you come into one of them prisons, once you come into one of them meetings, once you become a witness of what really goes on in there. You become a witness to lockdowns, the buzzers, you know, the way they mistreat us. You know, as my brother Ben would say, rest in peace, Ben, the dehumanization that goes on in there. Once you come in there, you become a witness. So if you're not pro institution or pro their program, then they're going to do whatever they can to shut you down. And they try plenty of times. And as you can see, like I said, free our material. Our material is still locked up and we all free. You know what I'm saying? So to know that, and let me tell you, the first project that we did, and we did the big red board, and the first project we did, I was in solitary confinement when I got the check for that. I didn't know I was getting paid for that. I remember Michael was like, yeah, you're gonna get paid for doing this. I'm like, all I'm doing is gluing some stuff. You feel me? Like I'm not locked up. I'm not in the unit, you know? And I didn't understand the seriousness of it at that time. And I didn't understand why Larry Lofton and Ben Hall and a lot of these guys was serious about that class. I didn't understand. So after I realized, like, damn, they really for us. Because we don't care how much you know until we know how much you care. And I'm going to say that again. We don't care how much you know until we know how much you care, you know? So once Michael showed us he cared about us and not what we could produce, but but let us know at the same time that we could produce something beautiful, and our voice was going to be heard. Like we was in the public. I had people on the streets and people from the classes I was in taking pictures at that board and taking pictures at that gallery. And I'm like, damn, they really took it to the street. Like, you know, and then that was me experiencing that what we doing here is going to be heard out there, bro. Like we could finally say and show that it's humans in here, that it's fathers in here, it's sons, it's daughters. It's like we can show that it's not monsters. It's not the people when you look up their name on DOC that, oh, this person is like, it's not him, you know? Like when you come in here and you take a class with somebody, you see the knowledge they have, you see how educated they are, you see how loving they are. You know, a lot of people told me that the most genuine people they met was when they came to those classes. The most authentic people they met in it was when they came to those classes. So yeah, like that's what Tin Can Phone did for us. It made us human again in a world where we was dehumanized, in a system where it was built to dehumanize us. Gang.
That was fire. That was some fire. I mean, I was just honestly, I hope someone can hear me. I know someone's probably listening, but not to just be on mic real hard, but I mean, it's a tough thing, man, to go up in there and build community. I think that's what he does. I think that's because I always try to dissect Michael. Like, yeah, what is his intentions? You always want to know someone's intentions, but when you see someone just show up like that and truly want to build community, man, that's beautiful. And that is giving a lot of people a voice. He continues to do that. I guess that's what we're doing too.
Also, I think the beautiful thing about it is it never was a his project. Like he never, even though he was our backbone, and even though, like I always say it, the gang always said, like, he the captain of the ship. You feel me? He steered the ship, because when we couldn't do nothing, he did everything. You know what I'm saying? And all he asked us to do was show up. But like, yeah, like, bruh, it's a serious situation when people believe in you. Like I said, the one thing, when somebody show up for you, that's all we ask for. Like when just show up when you say you gonna show up. You know what I'm saying? And it was times where, you know, we didn't think Mike was gonna show up, and he might have showed up in the last 10, 15 minutes. But like, man, I'm here. We finna, this what we doing. You feel me? Like he always showed up. And you know, when you got a voice, man, you know, you also got to be careful with the influence that you have and when you being heard. So, you know, for anybody out there that do have a little bit of influence, when you know you being heard and you know that, you know, you got the youth looking up to you, most definitely be conscious of how you use your influence.
And Armand, definitely jump in and try hard. But to contextualize some of that again, there's just a whole process of being able to get inside. And we had a time slot weekly to be in there. And as Blue mentioned, Art and Social Practice is a program at PSU where a lot of different people, including primarily Spencer Burns series, who like facilitated getting to the point where we could sign in cameras and all this other craziness.
Hey, shout out Spencer.
There was a
Shout
lot
out
of
Spence.
Spence, yes. There's a lot of different projects that were levied in that space. And so one of the things that Queez was describing is a project which, for those present and in the future, crci.art as a website. So Columbia River Creative Initiatives, crci.art. Is the project identity. And so Queez is talking about one of the exhibitions we did about with some street artists, and Queez was working on that project. And then
That was amazing.
It was an amazing show. Blue was also able to see the show. And there was a lot of artists who were incarcerated, and part of the kind of concept of that project was like getting it further than the wall. And so this project also born out of a similar intention. But we were also paying a lot of the concept of my engagement in this work is that due to the nature of the situation, there is a major necessity to compensate participants for their engagement for various reasons, including just labor, but also just by speaking about their experiences in this context or making artwork drawn from a specific experience. Like I couldn't just make a Blue original, right? It is carrying the experience. And so like you would pay a Black artist or an Indigenous artist or, you know, a South American artist or any, a white male artist, we need to be compensating people. And there was a comment made about money earlier, and I wanted to say that even though I just secured a $40,000 grant to help some kids, the work that I do in an incarcerated context, actually, Tin Can Phone is a well-funded project. We're not like eating off of this money, but this projector and this moment is being, and paying the editor and all of these things have been paid for by support and is highly necessary, right? For it to occur. And again, I'm not eating off this money, meaning I'm literally not paying myself at all and therefore not using money based on this project. However, I'm committing time, energy, labor to get it going so that hopefully it can be an engine of finances for the participants in some way, though I don't think beyond symbolically that has occurred. As Queez nodded to earlier, it is actually for me about them. And so that work is happening, and there is at least the money for me to facilitate that. And for listeners of season 2, one of those things will actually be purchasing educational materials that I think will be help the participants of this project better their lives, but also will sharpen their perspective using the lens of their experiences and the lens of this new information to hopefully cite that line out for listeners, etc.
Well, and I think it's important that that money, when people do get paid on the inside, if you get paid $50 or $150, that's a significant amount of money. Some of these guys work for $35 a month.
Facts.
Or 65 if they're lucky.
Facts.
So to have somebody be like, here's 150 for doing art or for getting involved in this program is kind of a beautiful thing, which can go a long way.
And Armand, again, jump in, although you weren't here, so now you're, oh fuck. I've been muting you, my bad, because I'm asking you to unmute. There we go. You got the power. And the stage.
I don't know if anyone can hear me, but No, so if I can't be
We
heard,
got you.
I'm
Let's do it.
listening. What?
We can hear you better.
Or you just, yeah. If you have nothing to say, I have nothing to say. But we can hear you, and we're ready for you if you have something to say.
I have nothing to say at the moment, but thank you for being here for me to speak.
Keep trying hard.
So, guys, I know you talked about Michael showing up for you and just for the program. To me, it feels like you guys are showing up for other people, and I just want to know maybe if you have any thoughts about what that's being of this voice, what that means to you.
Answer Armand.
Hey, I gotta show up for a lot of people all the time. I think that's part of living. I just try to show up the best version I can be, you know. And I know with this project, sometimes I wasn't fully there in some ways. Like literally right now, I'm like not literally there. I'm in a room because of, you know, circumstances. But um, you know, I'm trying to always use my voice to help whoever I can in my life. You know, can't put too many people on this back though. Damn.
Hey, you do just that though, brother. I ain't gonna lie. The ones you can help, you most definitely do. Um, yeah, I feel like this is like important to me. Because like if you know me, if you know my story, you know how I came up, you know what I came up, you know what I came from. To be able to give back and to be able to speak for the ones who may not had the courage to speak up, because in our community, like I say, we mentally enslave ourselves to community norms, you know. And I'm one of the ones who young I experienced it due to growing up so fast that I had a chance to reflect once I found myself in that cage. And then I came home and found myself in the cage again. I knew I was doing something wrong. So then I also seen like in there, I seen wrongful convictions. You know, you always hear, I didn't do it, bro. Like I was innocent, bro. I swear to God, I was innocent. All these people that's innocent, but when you get to see somebody and you get to read the paperwork and you get to watch it play out, and you really see somebody really was wrongfully convicted, and then they get it turned around in the end. Hey, I'm welcome home, Slim. I'm glad my brother Slim home, man. I watched it firsthand. They wrongfully convicted my man. So it's kids that come from McLaren that they extensive amounts of time, and it's due to the traumas of our past. And if I could be like, I look like them, I talk like them, I am them. Like I am the people is I. And so through music and really through being like a community man already, because if you know anything about the gang culture, you know that the gang culture was built on community safety first and foremost. It was always the people in the community for itself, savity, you know what I'm saying? So I was already embedded in that, but I also, have a lot of people around me who suffer from Black PTSD, and who suffer from abusive families, abusive relationships, and and they talk to me, but they don't say it out loud, because if we say it out loud, then Facebook and all these social groups and it opens up opinions, and sometimes you have cyber bullies, and cyber bullies really do cause suicide sometimes. Sometimes you really can hurt somebody enough to where they will do that to themselves. And sometimes it takes one of the cool kids, which I don't consider myself a cool kid. I consider myself a misfit. But to others, I'm considered one of the cool kids. So if I can speak up and say, listen, this is what I suffer from. Like, listen, this is what I have been through. This is what has hurt me. This is, and then it may help somebody else that be like, damn, I feel that. And even in my inbox, a lot of times I get like, bro, I feel that. And I'm like, well, why don't you say it out loud? It's because I'm scared, bro. Like, I don't want motherfuckers to judge me. I don't want people to, this and that. And I'm like, bro, again, I always make videos, and one of my videos was, it don't matter what they call you, is what you answer to. It's something that I think my grandma told me, like growing up, like, son, it don't matter what they call you, is what you answer to. Because I was reactive to what people said about me. I was reactive because I was facing and battling reputation. And so to be able to know that I speak for the misfits, and I speak for and I stand with the misfits, that's what anybody know me know. I'm in the streets with it. I'm gonna always be in the trenches. I'm gonna always be with my people. You can't stop the shootings if you're scared to talk to the shooters. You know, like this is 2021. We don't care what big homies say. We don't care what, like, none of that matters. Like, you got to get in the trenches and be with the people. Like, they got to be able to see you. And again, like we talked about Michael and showing up, like that's why it's so important, because the ones that change or spark the mind to change is the ones that show up. If I could see you and and you, like, me and Michael done been through it. Me and Michael done yelled at each other. Me and Michael done, you know, like, that's really my brother. Like, he stood with me and he stood for me when I was giving up on myself. You did? And I didn't even know I was, but he identified with it and was like, hey, bro, this, you know, anyways, like, those, like, and he not from what I'm from. He don't come from Sacramento. You feel me? And in him, I found something that I don't even have with motherfuckers who I grew up with my whole life type shit, you know? So, like, you always got to do what's right, because you never know who's watching and you never know who's listening. You don't know who you influencing, because sometimes people don't step up and say, they don't say, hey, bro, like, you know, if you blessed enough to do get that compliment, if you blessed enough to do touch somebody's life like that, please be conscious with, like, again, your influence, what you do with it. So, you know, maybe a long answer and maybe off topic, but like, it's important to be the voice of the streets. It's important to be the, like, because I went through this. I'm by far far away from it. Like, I'm still right here. The only thing is I'm just making the right choices. It's decisions. Everything is based off a decision. What you're receiving, you're accepting, and only you could change it by simply making a decision, you know? So, like, I'm just choosing to go through my battles and have be a support system. Shouts out Rob Richardson, man, going home too. He always tell me, that's my mentor. He always tell me the best thing you could loan a friend is an ear, you know? Sometimes the best thing you could loan a friend is an ear. You don't got to always have an answer for the person. You don't got to always smother the person with your thoughts and your ideas, but just listen, you know? And then don't hold me against it when I'm venting to you. Like, that's where we go messed up, where we try to be good friends. And then we like, well, we smother the person with what we think. And we think that they're telling us that to have the answer for them. But sometimes, you know, just let them talk to you. So especially when you come from incarceration, or you a child of the system, if anybody out there know anybody that's incarcerated or have been incarcerated, be patient with them. We act like we got it all together, and we act like we know all the answers and shit. But, like, you know, you kind of got to, like, work with us and shit like that, because we really be going through shit mentally that a lot of people don't talk about. Gang.
And appreciated. I psychologically, before, I was like, this is recording through Zoom, so when season 2 launches, you'll really be able to get it. So that's exciting. And also, again, Armand, we are excited for you to jump in, though is helpful to break the online participant with the spoken participant for the live experience. And some of what Queez is talking about, and even my own philosophy, that's in a very nascent aspect of, is by me being some form of educator, that I'm able to replicate myself somewhere else as someone who's engaging and supporting. And so, and in a way, as Queez said, like, he is the people and of the people, and is able to educate in a position that I cannot. And also, as Queez mentioned earlier, there was some sort of credit to build before there was able to be a transferal of information. And I think, gently contextualized in season 1, there has been instances with each of the participants of the show, some present and not present, where there has been major challenges. And I have learned as a person myself, navigating, like, an extremely volatile relationship in order to support the participant. And at any moment during this kind of interaction, the project might actually fall away entirely. And the reason for this 3-year arc is actually because it took that long for various reasons. So all of that is a great answer, Queez. So thanks for sharing. Mon, that with that Blue Yeti, well, by the way, as we were building this show, we got the funding for Oregon Humanities, which these gentlemen in their dapper suits, you can do a little modeling action while I describe what's happening. I was able to, like, use this money. Look at this guy. He's GQ. Armand over there. Come on, get your dance on too. Look, they can see you both. Look at this. Oh, he's really doing it. He's got the Zoom attire for the listeners in the future, which means bottoms optional. But and there's probably a story why the bottoms are not ready.
Professional on top, party on the bottom, dude. That's how we're doing it.
But we were essentially able to use grant money, and like if the government audits us, like maybe we might have some questions to answer. But part of it for me was so this guy could, both of them could have a permanent article of clothing, right? Like if we're spending money, we're not just like feeding people and dumping it down the drain. It's like, let's get these guys resources that they keep. Of course, we went with burgundy and fire red, whatever that means. I love it. That being said, yeah, the project unto itself is complex. And so we're excited for this moment, even to provide some perspective on the project, because in a way, when you listen to season one, and excitingly you can do on your way home, it is shining a light on a different aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah, and the getting out, right? Like everything's been smooth. No, right? It's been this challenge, right? And we've seen this play out in the past years or year for everybody.
I have a question on that premise. So, and this is for Armand, where you like, oh, that's what I was even saying. So I bought the suits and I had the money and I was like, I want to pay you. I knew this guy probably went somewhere to find a louder speaker. I just want to pay them money. Like I have money and you by doing this can get money. And they were like, no, we need clean audio. So we have these wonderful mics, and that's why probably we can hear Queez, but Armand, our resident professional, was like, I got a Blue Yeti. And this is not the first time that the Blue Yeti was.
Is it working? That's all I want to know. Is the Blue Yeti working?
You gotta really be close to your Blue Yeti.
Oh my God. I don't know if this
we might be improving our audio, but the question was, and you can just keep talking and the audio will be jumpy, but for the purposes of a clean edit for our editor, I was gonna ask something about money and Armand.
I think it's about putting the money actually in people's hands, like doing something that for real people.
What were you just saying?
We're just talking about it. It's been a bumpy road. People don't get out just ready to like conquer the world.
Right.
Challenges, some of them created by the system.
So I was gonna say, Armand, if you want to talk at all about how the system has challenged you in the past, or some of your own challenges during the process of this show, and or some of the challenges you're facing today.
Okay, well, let me just say this. Life is challenging. I think that is for most people. You know, most people don't go through what I've gone through, but a lot of people have gone through things I haven't. Life is challenging. And I think in ways, me dealing with myself, I hope we can hear me, because if not, I'm just gonna be ranted to Queez.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
But I mean, I guess if life is challenging to say the least, and then you add a whole nother layer of legal troubles and things like that, doesn't make things better. I don't think anyone went through legal battle and was just like, you know what, my life is so much better because of that. But like we are learning. I know I'm learning, part of my process. Michael says artsy stuff, like you're coming into your own sometimes, or I'm trying to understand what he means by that. But yeah, man. A lot of programming. I'll say that right now. I've done a lot of programming.
You've been through a lot of programs. Is that what you're saying?
Something like that. I've just been doing my courses, doing this and that. But life, as I was just saying, the bigger point is life is challenging for all of us. And if you're not have like a foundation to deal with life when it comes on you, then you're lacking. And I was caught lacking a couple times for sure.
And something that's interesting, and now they really can hear you. So Armand, go for the gold. Something that we're like navigating today. Earlier today, I was driving Armand's suit to his home in Beaverton, which is not his home in downtown.
Don't drop the
Armand
Lola.
has like, huh?
Don't drop the Lola.
I mean,
You almost dropped his location. That ain't safe.
I did have to drive to Eugene to get Queez's suits last time.
Hey man, it was a good job you did, man. You did a good job, man. I'm glad you did it.
And so it's interesting too, like as an artist, whatever, I used to make sculpture, and I love that. And I wish it did more than it can do. And I'm doing this work and I enjoy it. I mean, contextualized in a conversation in season 1, like there was a yelling match on my porch with Queez on the phone. And episodes of hours of talking to Armand through anxious moments and other times that the work feels like it lives there. And so if that's like hewing a stone or whatever, like cool, I'm for that. The administrating, like figuring out how to like sneak $700 worth of suits into a spreadsheet is less fun. That being said, yeah, so like Armand has a job that excites him. And we've spent a lot of time talking about how he's afraid of this pass becoming known in that space and not being able to have the job. And so there's a lot of my work on this project or projects in a carceral context, which is like tending to the person who's a part of the project. And so I don't know if Armand, you want to talk about any of your contemporary life.
Yeah, Michael, you're a people tender, and I mean that in a good way. Yeah, I mean there's layers to these. There's, I work in a professional setting right now and I love what I do, and no one wants to see an opportunity given to them and then taken away because of, perception someone might have of you. I think everyone wants to be judged on who they are and how they show up every day. So, sometimes I battle with that myself. I really hope I hope you guys can hear me.
No, we're killing it now. Everyone's excited. Everyone go, woo! We have a larger audience than when we started with, so we're really having a show now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I want to show up and be judged on who I am and what I deliver, I don't want anyone to make any conclusions on me based off of some mistakes in the past. I don't think anyone wants to, Oh no. Queez, what do you got to say?
Hey. Well, that question was tailor made to you though, but I do have something to say about that. It don't matter, bruh, because it was just a mistake in the past. So you're gonna always be judged. Judging somebody is the sense of protecting oneself. Like you're gonna always judge. That's how we protect ourselves. So it's about when you show your character, because judgment is what somebody think of you. Character is who you are, So like all you gotta do, like for me, and this is different for me, I represent what I come from. I represent being a child of the system. You know what I'm saying? I represent that 10 years I did in the pen, bro, because they took that from me. They kidnapped me from the world. They took that from me. But I stayed sane though. You know what I'm saying? All through all that, I'm talking about different states, bro. I wasn't in California. I didn't have my mom. I didn't have my brothers. I didn't have no family. You know what I'm saying? You never seen no. I never came from a visit like, oh yeah, that was.
Cut out, please.
I never went to no visit. Talking about like that was a family visit or you feel me? Like, could you hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, it was never none of that. So like, I really was battling shit, bro. But I got threw off. What was I speaking on, bro? What was I speaking on? I was finna go somewhere else with it. What was I speaking on, Armand?
Or even to like build on it with your thoughts, which you will hear in the show.
About representing it though. About representing it. Like that's the difference. When you could go through that and then you could educate somebody, because when they meet you and be like, I would have never knew you went through this situation. It's like because everybody ain't what you think they are. Like everybody ain't one shoe fit all, one what they would call inmate. We don't all fit the same. You feel me? Like we don't all, even though we all wear the same clothing, they do that on purpose. They strip a man. When you go into incarceration, they strip you butt naked in front of 5, 6, 7 men, and they search out all parts of your body in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's dehumanizing. In slavery, they used to rape the males of the house. They dehumanized them. They humiliated them. They showed that they wasn't worth anything. You know what I'm saying? That's how they tried to gain control of the moms and the wives. And they did that to the fathers. Like, so like the system does the same thing. It's systematic slavery, bruh. They strip you of everything. Who are you when you there just naked? You feel me? And then they put us all in the same clothes so that to the outside eye, we all to be marked and deemed the same thing. You know? So like it's all a plot. It was all systematically built like that. So when we come and we like, hold on, we just did umpteenth amount of years and this is really who I am. I'm still your neighbor. We go to the same grocery store and it's educating because a lot of people, they so scared of ex-con or, oh, he's been to prison. Oh my God. And then they talk to you, they like, oh my God, like like, so I always let people know, like, yeah, bro, that's me. I am my convictions. I am my record. Because when I get pulled over, that's what I'm gonna be identified as. When I try to get a job, that's what I'm gonna be identified as. You always gonna be identified as your, so carry that because you did that and you stay sane, you stayed you, and you never, you feel me? You only got better, bro. So like at the end of the day, like if they judge you off of that, then that show the lack of humanity that they have. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, okay, you got to go in it knowing you're gonna be judged. And then your character gonna show them who you really is, and that's gonna wake their game up. And then that's gonna give them the ability to tell their friend and tell their friend and tell their friend. And them is the conversation that's not gonna be had in their circles. You know what I'm saying? Because they all believe the same thing in those higher. You said you work in a nice upper echelon place, right? That means if you don't want to be recognized as what you are, you don't feel like you deserve to be there, bruh. You faking to be there. Nigga, they ain't got fake to be there. Nigga, they gotta know who you is. And then you gonna show that you deserve to be there. You don't want them to have a false pretense of who you is, and then like find out who you is, like, oh, you've been in prison, and then blackball you. When you could come in like it's delivery. Delivery is everything. Delivery is everything. This is what I've been through, not who I am. You here with me. You know who I am. You would have never knew that if I would have never told you. So go tell your friend. You feel me? The conversation is going to spark it. Like people always ask, what could we do to change? Really had a conversation. Conversation is not enough. I'm not saying that. But if somebody close to you not having a conversation with you, then it's not going to never, because y'all all going to believe the same shit anyway. It got to be somebody that had that conversation and you could be that spark. Like, man, I work with a dude, man. He did 18 months in prison. You know, but he's so smart. He this, he that. Now he's telling his friends and his wife and all these upper echelon people, as you call them, that he knows somebody from prison that isn't what everybody thought they was. And that's just gonna start a chain. And literally all that is starting a chain, bro, of people realizing like, damn, we was wrong. And that's really all it is challenging what people grew up believing in anyway, you know?
Yeah, and as you are hearing, much wisdom.
First of all, just like, bam, wow, that was freaking beautiful. I love you. I love this guy.
Yeah,
That's
man,
freaking
that's
genius.
the show. We're doing
Man,
it. This is it. We're
That's
doing
Tin
it.
Can Phone.
Um,
Not just one man, right? Just like
No,
not a monster, not scary, like,
Queez though. It's
yeah.
like sometimes he speaks and I feel like I owe him like whatever it is to get a therapist for an hour. I'm like, damn, he always, you know what I mean? He really
Pay
just
up.
helped me. I was like, I need to pay this guy.
Hey, you don't owe me nothing. You listening, brother. Like all I ask is for my people to listen. You already know that's what I do every day, bro. I'm in the streets with it. Like you feel me? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, this shit is for real for me. Like with my heart, bro. Like you already know how much I love you, Armand. You know what we've been through, bro. So when I talk to you, nigga, you already know like this shit is. You feel me? You like.
That's
you
why I
already-
know I know it's like no faking, and that's why we like capture these moments. And again, that's another thing that if we bring it back to the project, why like I always like I'm like, there's been so many hurdles to get this stuff going, and even right now we're hurdling a Facebook live stream to like kind of be heard in person. It's just like but what I say that for is because like I know once we get in that zone and we have these talking, like there's just some gems in here that I think could probably help some other people just hear it.
yeah, and there was a moment like because Armand was talking and then Cleese was talking to Armand. So it's interesting too because we have recorded these shows for a year in various circumstances, including like live from rehab, which season 1, check it out. But there is a little bit of like, I talk to the guys in order to facilitate their lives intermittently and the project, but we really kind of like meet and ground ourselves during the show. And so we're kind of talking to each other live, but also was going to contextualize, and then Queez profited his own words. But some intentions, because for me, I have not experienced incarceration. I've gotten closer than probably everyone listening, but it's not the same. You witness, as Quiz or Armand said in the past, or of this recording in this moment, but I'm learning too. And also, this platform, I think when I talk about this project, I'm not like a podcast master or something. This project was born of the need and want for this to be happening. And during that era, and as we're recently building out the website, thanks, buddy. I know you're listening right now as the editor. But I just was sending copy. Thanks, Allie, for copying the copy. But in the kind of mission, I talk about an original idea that when I was talking with the guys, and Quiz even referenced saying, like, I'm learning through the process of making this project. I was like, what are we doing? Like, we can't, like, yes, shooting the shit is cool. And now that we're like building something for other people, we're like getting this, we were in prison, everyone, me at the time with them inside of jail, and saying like, I'm taking this content outside of jail. Why? What are we doing? Like, people are listening now. What are we telling them? And Quiz was like, people think that ex-felons are monsters. And so when they just got abused and oppressed, and they're all kind of messed up in ways that brought them there, and then they're extra messed up from being there, and then they get out and everyone's like, no, not you. And in fact, Quiz mentioned Ben Hall. He's a brother that we lost. And so through this process, and he got out during the pandemic and was not held or whatever, and was like going to college and got a degree inside and served 20 years inside. And this project in many ways is his spirit and voice carries on through us, through this project, and we speak to that. But also, again, to kind of echo Quiz's original wisdom from years ago, is to portray that we're not monsters. Like, not only do you hear them speaking wisdom to you, that's been on camera, not only, can you hear that this is not a monster, but without that. And so, those listening in this moment, present and future, there's now, you could be like, oh, Google tin can phone, like, get that from them. So yeah, I mean, this project is beautiful for that reason, and also for the reason of what it is to us as a part of the project, because there's times where people have fallen off or have wanted to fall off, and there's been conversation around that. And so it's clear, and to consent to the listener who I'm speaking to, you don't have to respond to this call. But I'm also curious, Armand, if you don't want to do a little show and tell, at least for those who have visual access to this moment. There's a part of your attire that feels relevant to this moment. But
You put my little bracelet, my jewelry.
if you this is an invitation, not an
I got a little jewelry.
One of the reasons I had to bring Armand his suit is because he's currently on ankle monitor, and is a way, and there's ways in which guys present have had to pay money while being outside of prison. So Armand, how much does that jewelry cost you?
I just had 15 days. They wanted about like $300. It's for 15 days.
So he's got to pay to LoJack himself.
Oh yeah, I got to pay to do what I was doing before, minus go to the gym. But hey, it is what it is, man. It's only a couple more days, so we're good.
And Armand, since you can't see the audience, there's some concerned expressions. And, I have even fundraised for other forms of oppression. I don't know if that wants to be shared either, or not, but there's a lot going on. And so we're excited that you're joining us.
Oh, man. it's intense. I just love that these guys are sharing so openly. I think the authenticity is beautiful, and I think it shows the struggle. That's what I've seen over the course of you sharing with me, Tin Can Phone, and my own experience of it, my own experience in life. But I think
There's been some big wins though, I think too. I
Okay.
think there's been wins, you
Tell
know.
us.
I think there's been a lot of wins, you know, because this can get heavy and but like that's the thing about my life. Like I've had difficulties like many of us had, but like I've always known that you got to try to stay as optimistic as possible. Cause I don't know, I spent time beating myself up or like replaying a lot of things over and over again. And I realized that like that don't get me anywhere. You know, you got to stay as positive you can, move as smooth as you can. You know, there's obviously things that are messed up about this world. Like, yeah, did you guys think it was all peaches and cream? Because it ain't. But you know, we do the best that we can, and I know by doing right, like things will change eventually.
I like what Queez said. You go through this thing and you're still standing, right? Like
Right.
through all the oppression, outside flourishing, doing beautiful things, speaking up for other people and creating space, whether it's Michael creating space or us creating space for other people as well, as we, walk through doors, kind of like bring other people along. There's going to be a guy who's going to get out and he's going to say, I want to be on Tin Can Phone, and it's going to make a difference in his life,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the guys brought up Great American Stories, and that was a wild moment. We have a riveting, impactful interview with Ben Hall, who's no longer with us, and there's also like massive volumes of his poetry and writings that will remain material for me to use probably for the duration of this project, which may last my lifetime. And those nuggets of wisdom, and I mean, to get existential on you, like I don't, Kent Ford is in the audience for whomever, whatever that means to who's listening or whatever, former Black Panther, which is an exciting relationship for me to have. But thinking about legacy, and there's ways in which Kent, I'm listening to a book about Kent, Fred Hampton right now, and what was the other person, his name, who died when Kent Ford was murdered? Or I mean, when never live forever. When Fred Hampton was murdered, Mark Clark. And so in a way, it was interesting because I showed him a drawing I did of Fred Hampton, and he was like, "Oh, this is great. Like, can you do one of Mark Clark?" And I was like, "Who's Mark Clark?" And I had to Google that, and now I'm listening to the book, and it's like, this is the guy who also was murdered, and for whatever reason, and I was like googling, and there's one like mugshot-ish photo of this guy. There's no, it's just, he just happened to be there or whatever. And so these histories for me are wild to start to unearth, but also thinking about legacies and how these legacies continue to have influence. And so it's exciting to be a part of this project, and it's exciting to raise up the experiences of people who are experiencing it, because I can't tell this story. I'm facilitating the story that exists. And so that is an exciting part of the project, both how it lives and how it will live beyond my awareness. And so again, we're kind of excited for everyone to be here, to be listening, to launch the show. Again, this is, for those of you hearing this in a future tense of this moment, you're already listening to the show. But when you're listening to this moment, you'll be like, wow, this was the beginning of the prior moment. I'm doing a lot of time travel with kids. I'm like, we studied history, we're going to space, we're here right now. And that is present here too. And I guess it's like an interesting parable for me when I started working inside. I didn't know if I like wanted or needed to be there. I was like, I'm interested in kids. The sky is falling, intergenerational issues. Is this the right place for me? And I stumbled upon the humanity that's there. And I'm like, whoa. And I think most of my male relationships that aren't from prison are with men who are older than me. And I'm developing an awareness of what relationships with men is. through the people who I've met in an carceral context, and these things have influenced me. I am influenced by these things, and so it's exciting to share this with everyone. It's exciting for these guys to have a platform of theirs, despite the challenges in which they're facing. Which there was a moment where Queez's mic cut out. Queez is currently in California, and so and both of my compatriots got COVID in different ways that were totally not that cool because of their proximity to marginalization. And financially, we exist on a similar tax scale, but my privilege insulates me from certain things that are a problem. And in fact, both of these guys are the only guys that I know personally who got COVID. And so these stories are important. Again, we're appreciative of people who are even here listening. There was a mention of people who are wrongfully convicted. And so tomorrow, we'll be working with Blue to talk about non-unanimous jury conviction. So there's these pamphlets that people from Mutual Education produced. Again, shout out Allie, with more information, original art from Blue. And this is like the work I've dedicated my life to in a way. And in many ways, I, without intention, sacrifice and lose parts of my own cushy lifestyle. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and he said, you know, the CEO is not a family man, and the family man is not, you know, making advances in the professional world. And my friend's from the East Coast, so whatever that means with some salt and pepper, but and maybe I'm losing aspects of my own life because I think this project and various projects that I'm affiliated with are just relationships. And so we're putting that relationship on display in certain kinds of ways with high levels of consent. And they're just, anyone can have them. So any of you could probably figure out how to get into prison when that's available, or do some form of activism that is touching this community or another one. That is highly accessible to everyone. And I'm hoping that my own activities make that apparent, because I don't know that I'm special other than like I did this. But I'm made special by these other people. So there's that. And also while talking to my friend, I was talking about like launching this project. And I was like, oh yeah, this guy, I'm bringing him his suit. And he's like, yeah, what is it even for? And I was like, well, actually, like the ethics of engagement is like, that's not actually important. You know, and he was just like, hey, but what do you mean? Like you work about in the context, that means you should know. And I was like, working with him, but also that this is not common knowledge. And so even just thinking about showing up or listening to the show, you're working your way, and there's more work to do for me and for you and for everyone. Like, let's all get free, and we won't unless we try. And even then, fingers crossed for the people who are listening. So anyway, you might want to invite one last kind of sentiment, and guys, you're kind of at your last sentiment before we dig into the next phase of this situation.
I just want to share that I love the wisdom we got tonight. I think the Portland community is like wanting to welcome people back. I think the Portland community, and especially the artistic community, wants to kind of like say, come home. You know, you don't have to be separate. You don't have to be other, like be a part of us. And probably next, this season, we'll probably interview Morlock, who called me 6 days after he got out of prison, like dejected, thinking he was going to have to work an hour away from minimum wage in a refrigerator making pizzas. And now he has a business that has 40 members 8 months later. And I think that's the power of anybody getting involved, whether it's going into the prisons or being out here and just saying yes to like these human beings and who have voices and wants and desires and value, and kind of being able to just see somebody and get that. So tomorrow, and then I'll pass it off to these guys, but tomorrow we're going to talk about the Ramos decision. Oregon, since the 1930s, allowed for people to be convicted of serious crimes with only 10 of 12 jury members. It came directly from anti-Semitism, xenophobia, and racism, and it has paid racist dividends. So the number of people incarcerated who are people of color is vastly larger, 8 times their representation within society at large in Oregon. So we're going to talk about that and the fact that the powers that be can actually affect change, that they actually have the power to make it right, because we still have people, even though it's now been deemed unconstitutional, sitting behind bars or on parole with non-unanimous juries, and it's not okay. So I'm going to be there, and Tin Can Phone's going to amplify this thing that I believe in, that I know they share. And we're just going to do that tomorrow. So I'm excited for that. And I really appreciate you guys having me on and letting me talk to you tonight. So that's awesome. And Michael, you too.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't please the pocket, but it pleases the soul. And I don't know if I could live any other way. And so I know there's folks in the audience who have similar, feelings about that.
Well, from an older guy, I'll tell you the only real important thing is relationships. So stay poor.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, hit it.
No, I'm just asking, do we have enough time to involve the audience? Like, do anybody got any questions? Anybody in the audience? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, buddy. We're closing in on the KBOO time spectrum, but now this is behind the paywall, behind the fence.
Take the suits off, let your hair down.
We can field some audience questions. We have one already. Allie, why don't you do an audio test? Ask if they can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. It feels a little weird to yell, but I will try. I don't exactly know how to phrase this question, but there's this saying that people who are on the outside of adverse situations often say, which is like, don't let the situation define you. And it's obviously like a very trite, like, well, yeah, like easy, better said than done. And here we are listening to your experiences on a podcast made by guys who have experienced time inside and about people who have experienced incarceration. And so I just want to kind of get your thoughts on that, on these big life moments and what you make of that now in relation to your work on Tin Can Phone and maybe other outlets that you have.
You want to go, Armand, or you?
Well, I'll go first and I'll pass it back. Thank you for the question, Allie. I mean, all it takes is one moment to really alter your life, one moment, and that's legal. That's could be a personal problem. That could be one diagnosis of something that's wrong. It takes one moment, but I tend to believe that our life is a culmination of a lot of different moments. So, I catch myself sometimes define myself by instances, but I try to remember that life is a bunch of moments all taped together. So, I try to work through that. That was a good question. Queez, what's going on in your head? Lace them.
Nah, yeah, that's actually a great question. Situations do define you, but it's not the situation. It's most definitely the mindset, the heart, the bravery, and the work that it took to make it through the situation. The situation, why I said define is because then you learn new stages of yourself after going through certain adversities and like what's love without pain? You really wouldn't even know what love was if you didn't know what pain was, right? So I feel like you get to choose, though, like any situation you find yourself in, you get to choose ultimately what the outcome is. You could choose simply to like just say you could choose, like when I got incarcerated, I was 19 years old and I got out when I was 29 years old. But when I got incarcerated, I chose that I'm a gangbang. I chose that I'm gonna do it the way that ultimately my uncles and all my homeboys and I lived the stories that I heard. So when I went into prison, I already had a pretense of what it was gonna be for me because of I grew up around cons. I grew up around them dudes in my household. I grew up around the ones they deem the bad guys. So like I heard the stories growing up. So and then again, I am a child of the system. I went to foster care when I was 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? me and my brothers and my sister, we went to foster care when I was 5 years old for 3.5 years. My mom ended up getting us back. After that, we experienced death. My father died immediately after coming home from foster care. So like, all these things is gonna make somebody, but like I chose like at first to react to it the way that was expected of me, the way that I seen so many times, the cycle that I was a part of. Like I chose to react like that. Once I got incarcerated, um, I just seen the cycle being reenacted so many times with so many young lives that I said, hold on, I'm educated enough because I've never been uneducated. Like I've always been smart. I've always been an observer. I've always been a sponge. I've always like my mom beat education into me. That's one thing that she did do. So, but I allowed my trauma, and I allowed again what was expected to of me to be my reaction. So if somebody prior to me went through this, how did they say they reacted to it? And then he said he reacted to it like this, and then he reacted to it like, all right, that's how I'm expected. That's how I'm gonna react to it. Like I'm living in those footsteps. So you have to unlearn. You have to unlearn. And in unlearning, you have to acknowledge that you was taught wrong. None of us want to admit that we was taught wrong. None of us want to admit that the things we was taught with, but it was it's just going through trauma, and unlearning is part of that process so that you could relearn. Because until you can let go of certain things, and that's what you get for going through situations. You get what I'm saying? So like, I'm not just gonna learn this by just waking up every day and living life, going to work. Like I had to go through those situations, but I learned that it was choice. Like everything is literally choice. You can make a choice to go one way, or you can make a choice to go another way. But we follow cycle though, because and it's sad. Again, it goes back to what I was talking about as far as mentally enslaving ourselves. We stick with what we know best. We stick with what's comfortable for us. But I will say, growth never happens in comfortable spaces. You're never going to grow when you're comfortable. Growth happens out in uncomfortable situations. So adversity most definitely, shorten the answer, adversity most definitely form and is a part of your makeup, but ultimately it's your mindset, your heart, and how you come out of those situations that's going to make you who you are. Because some people go through the same situation over and over, and we be always asking like, why do they always go through, why are you having to go through the same, you know you have to acknowledge. I always say it's blessings in the stressing, it's lessons in the stressing. So it's going to be stressful situations, but it's lessons in it if you pay attention, and you get your signs. Like God ain't never going to send the blessings that we ask for in the form that we ask him. He's going to send them, but in the form that we need them. So like you can miss it if you're not blessed enough to see your blessings. You can miss it. So um you know like adversity most definitely could play a part in who you is. It's just about how you make it through and who you become after, if you choose to take those lessons, or if you choose to let it be the negative, and you choose to just like beat yourself up, and you choose to let it get the best of you. Then you mentally enslaved. You just enslaved yourself to whatever situation you was in, and you know that it's hard to get out of that, because you have to acknowledge that it even exists, which again is a whole nother thing in itself. Because in our culture, I know in my culture, like we don't really acknowledge, because we don't know how, and we don't have the people that we could be vulnerable with. So ultimately,
When's the book coming out, dude?
I mean, and to that, it's like I don't, maybe I was talking about this earlier, but some of the educational materials that I'm looking to get, it inspired me. Mitchell S. Jackson, who graduated from Jefferson High School, essentially was like selling drugs in the area, and the book is about that. But is now an author and a master of writing, right? And so I'm like, let's get this book in this man's hands, right? Like this is the thing that through my privilege, power, and access, I even know exists. And so Queez has talked about writing an urban novel, and so I'm like, that's why I was like, this book, he needs to hear it. And also D. Watkins, I'm from the East Coast, and D. Watkins similar sold drugs. His brother was sold drugs. He was like, his brother was like, you got to get educated. His brother died. He was like, oh, I opened the safe. There's drugs in the safe. I'm just gonna sell them. Started selling drugs, and then learned that he didn't want that life. But it is this crazy process, which in my own life, I'm involved with men who are using drugs, and I can't allow that to be stigmatizing. In fact, it is actually, I think we can't do anything until we deal with the drugs. And so that becomes the work, which is okay because I am doing the work. And so, like, Do I get paid to make art to do this? Not really. Is it important to me to be doing? Yes. Um, and so I do that work, and remains interesting again because it is guys like Queez and Armand who can share that and also put that in their own language, which, like, you know, I was talking in a conversation with Queez. He mentioned that his grandmother used to pick cotton for money. So, like, was not a slave, however, was picking cotton. And so he said to me, I'm not that far from that. And I'm in a situation where this thing is talking to me and it's like, I'm not far, you know what I mean? So I'm not far from that. Even though I don't even know my own history to know whether or not that's present. Um, so, and you know, another analogy that lives in season 1 that Queez describes is like snakes gotta shed their skin. And so you learn from the environment you're in, but eventually, because you were taught to survive in this place, but if you want to get beyond this, you have to shed the skin. And so that's like me, just that's Queez's language, and I'm just sharing it due to my proximity to Queez. Do we have another question from the audience before we wrap it or transition? But folks can make their way as they need to. Going once, going twice. I feel like you've been listening really intently. Your expressions feel expressive.
I actually do have a lot of questions.
Hit it. This is the moment. You're on Tin
Come
Can
on, come
Phone.
on, come on. You are Tin Can Phone. Without you, there's no us.
But you got to try.
So I want to
it a
say
sound.
that your vulnerability, both Key and Armand, has been insightful, like heart opening for myself. I just learned about Still in Prison, I want to say 4 weeks ago. And I'm one of those people that was taught to believe that if anything bad happened in your life, it was a character flaw. It was your fault. It had nothing to do with racism, poverty, nothing. It was a character flaw. Now, I'm the daughter of immigrants. Therefore, you know, they would say, we work so hard for XYZ. Like, if we can do it, everyone can do it, right? And so, like, listening to you guys, like, I want to cry because, like, for me, it's like, I've always believed what you're saying. But I grew up in environments that told me that I was wrong. And so learning and growing and unlearning, like you said, I literally had to shed so much of what I was told so that I can in turn use my privilege, my platform to help rewrite the narrative that so many of us grow up with for whatever reason. So my question to you is, how would you address the topic with, you know, boomers and the like how do we have these conversations at the dinner table where it just doesn't explode and people run away from their own family? Because it's getting to summer and I'm going to see my parents and I want to do this. I want to help them unlearn whatever the hell they picked up in their home country. Does that make sense? So, like, how would you address this for someone like me?
Heavy.
Our audio descriptions, that was a pained and expressive face from Queez.
Oh man. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, hit it, Armand. I know you're the right guy for this.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, you know, and I hear the passion in her voice, and I know that she wants to do something, but like the sad thing is sometimes you can't change everyone's opinions, and maybe that's not even the place to start. Maybe it is just starting with yourself, and then, you know, opening doors for those conversations. But I mean, those are your family, and I know, like, coming from an immigrant family, like, they might be stuck in some old ways, you know what I mean? And we're all kind of stuck in old ways in to some aspect, but you know, you can tell her your version of the story, you know, ask them to be sympathetic or to at least hear it out. But at the end of the day, you can't change, you know, what they are willing to accept. And that shouldn't necessarily be the goal, because I mean, I think starting with yourself is a good place, you know.
I have a thought on it.
No, it sounded like
I think that when we point out the false patinas that our society puts on things, if you just put honorable in front of somebody's name, it doesn't make them honorable. You know, if you talk about the values of our society, but then you think about our context, right? Whether it's going to wars for no reason, or whether it's enslaving people because of the color of their skin, or marginalizing people, putting Japanese people in internment camps. These things are not congruent with the narrative, right? And if you can show somebody that things aren't congruent with the narrative, you can then maybe say, hey, look, you're agreeing to this. Can you agree to this too? And um, I think that's a really important aspect of sort of helping somebody to see the problems, um, because it's people know, right? We tell ourselves things, but deep down we know. We even know when we have our own sort of weird thoughts that come into our minds, that don't make sense, and we can kind of test those things. And I think it's important to kind of hold up that thing. And another thing I would say is Brian Stevenson has gotten over 40 people off death row in Alabama. 40, like that's like it doesn't even seem like a real thing, right? It seems like a joke, and yet it's a real thing. So I mean, to me, I would show him something about Brian Stevenson, because if that's possible, I mean, anything's possible. That's actually being able to get somebody out of the system or off death row. That's ridiculous. It's disgusting, and it's beautiful. It's all those things. So that's my thought.
Hugh, you got anything?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you know, as I'm listening, I'm thinking like, all right, I will approach it with like a thesis, like as if I'm writing a thesis type situation, like because they already had their mind made up, and this is generational, beliefs and generational, like, so you're not gonna break that with one weekend with the family. And like Armand said, like that's not the goal. We don't try to change people, we just try to change perspectives. Like if you could change a mind, then you could change a person, but I just want to change your mind. So like it just approach it with evidence, you know what I'm saying? Like ultimately too, like if they're interested in what you going on with you, then this is what they're gonna have to hear. They're gonna have to hear it because this is what's going on with you. So it's kind of like a situation where you just being present. You being present is gonna open it up, because if they whatever questions they ask, if they interested in what's going on with their daughter, then this was going on with me. But also like I said, delivery. I realized one thing in life, and I lived in a lot of different cities and a lot of different states. I moved around. Delivery is everything. Like just delivery, the way you come across. We got to understand that body language is 78% of um conversing, your body language, and then it's your tone, you know what I'm saying? So like, and then it's the words you're using. The words you're using is the least percentage of what goes into a conversation. Your body language is the most percentage. So like the way you deliver something, the way you come across, it can be aggressive, it can be I need you to change your mind about this. It got to be a good thing. Like even if they ask what's going on with you, you happy in life, like what's, you could even make up a story as far as even using us, like, man, I seen this podcast, and like, and you got evidence to back up, like, man, these guys are educated, they're not everything that was painted to be. And then you just give them an option. Like, I'm not here to, point this on you. I'm gonna just show you. It's an old saying that say you could lead something to the water, but you can't make it drink. You know what I mean? So like, you could just present it. And if they take to it, they're gonna ask the questions, and you'll beat her with the answers, or you'll beat her with, certain things that can help them understand better. But just come across as if like, this is what I figured out in life, and I'll be wrong not to share it with y'all. But not as if like, I need y'all to change our mind about what y'all believe, because we can't do that. Like that's forceful, like, and change come when it's like when you want it yourself. Like it just takes for somebody to bring it out of you to realize that you do want it. But like with addicts and like with, you can't change, like you can't make them change, no matter how many programs, how many in-house patient. Like, it doesn't matter unless they want to change and they're ready to change. They're not going to change, and they will give their life for it. And this has been proven like over and over. Look at all the overdoses in the world. So ultimately, don't go in aggressive. Don't go in like your mission is to change their mind. Just present it to them, and if they take to it, you know, it may take years. It may take a lot of people just, you know, especially when you're dealing with generational beliefs. Like, this ain't just something that they picked. Like, this is generational beliefs. So it's all about your approach. Just be gentle. Just be gentle and go in knowing that it may not go the way you want it to. That way you won't be so hurt, and it won't be such a sensitive thing when they react wrong, because we know, you know your parents, you know that this is something new to them. This is like, you know, I dropped the bomb on you, baby. So like, just make sure you go in with a gentle approach, and you know, baby, the situation. This may be a long-term journey. You know, and it may be a long-term journey for you too, because the work is bigger than conversation. But I thank you for being here, and I thank you for that question. There's no such thing as a dumb question or too many questions.
Thank you, Quiz. And yeah, I love that you're loving it. I I thought Kirk might do it, but it's on the behind the paywall version. But just like gentle land acknowledgement, you know, like it goes back. And I think land acknowledgements are important, and they're like contextually paradoxical to me, especially in 2021. It's like, we have 45 minutes to talk about everything that's really kind of not cool right now, that we want to just like nod and hold in this space. And so this comment is trying to nod and hold as much of that as can be by these words. But also, and it's funny because my mom's in the audience, but recently I was talking to my mom, and she mentioned that my dad saw my bio where I mentioned that I'm queer, and she was like, "Oh, he said you should probably take that off if you want to work with kids." And I was like, "I thanks. I don't know that has a contemporary understanding of what that is, but that's okay." And I think that really is just like being who you are, which I think a lot of people struggle with figuring out who they are and how to be who they are in all of the ways that they are. And that is the most generational change, and is the reason why I also work with young people. And a lot of the incarcerated folks that I work with, or some, are also parents. And so by providing them a platform, a place for them to shine, their children are also seeing that. But you are, the question is shaped, also a child of someone. And so you don't have to get them to think and behave in a different way, but by shirking the inadvertent and intentional programming, you are starting to unmake that in society. And so that is the most important thing, that I didn't think that this project would hold that, but is there. So again, thank you for the question. This is Tin Can Phone, tincanphonepodcast.com, Tin Can Phone on Apple and Spotify and all this stuff, which is really for y'all because this is behind the paywall or something or whatever. Buddy, you got this. You're the man. Thank you both for being here in the ways that you are. Thank you, Blue, for being here. Thank you, City Repair, Southeast Uplift, Oregon Humanities, and any other organization. Metro is a fund that we're about to start biting into, but have been using. This is the required conclusion of our Oregon Humanities money. We needed to present this. And so by the nature of a podcast, it inadvertently is being presented, but I was like, more amplify platform. So this is that. And again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you, panelists. And boom, closed Tin Can Phone, Buddy, Earmark. Round of, woo, yeah! We are live. We're in the world. People are hearing us and our wisdom. Guys, you are, whatever. You can take your pants off if you have them on. I'm going to now start streaming. So essentially, and folks who are present can move around, leave. But the structured programming of the thing is that Tin Can Phone, I collaborated with Portland Institute for Contemporary Art last summer to do a picnic project, which is where also people from Mutual Education launched a salvo of pamphlets on Black trans lives, gentrification, redlining, gerrymandering, environmental racism, or something, people from Mutual Education on Google. Those information packets, and the reason that project exists and the format of it is so that you can have it in hand and you be like, here's this. I'm actually having a conversation with you. And for listeners, I'm holding one of the people from Mutual Education pamphlets. You can read this or not. Maybe you read this when I leave, but we're having a conversation already, because inside this object contains the conversation and the wisdom that I have. And so the design of the project is for that. And so with Pika's support and the nature of my practice, I convene people around food. And so in the background, I'll be playing these videos and I'll be streaming them online, because I know the guys haven't seen them. Armand is there, but his video is off, I guess. So I'm gonna just start doing that. But again, celebrate, thank you, wonderful, appreciate.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm be sharing my screen. Of course, you all can do your thing. Another kind of funny little situation here. And so, yeah, guys, you haven't seen this. I don't know if Armand's still there, but hopefully you are. Maybe this background, but this is for you. This is, I don't think you've seen this.
I haven't.
All right, we're working on.
I can't see nothing. It's just a white strip.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
Bring your own boys because the world has been stolen from us. They stole the world, they tried to burn us down with the fire, yet it's still, here we are, how you feel, grandma's kids, Tin Can Phone takeover. It's your boy, Misfit Ice. I'm with my guy, Armand Crusoe. Tap in. I got you back.
Hey, buddy. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Say that again. Nope, no shorts today. But it's getting cool, so I'm glad. But you got some shorts. Wonderful.
What's happening? Hey man, this is special guest. This is Teresa Grateful. Oh my God, what a pleasure to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm happy and thankful.
I'll check them out in a little bit.
What does it mean to have this camaraderie and to see all these wonderful people out here, and mostly the love that they have for you?
Oh my goodness, I mean, it means everything. It means we're resilient people. I mean, even before the fires happened, we were responding to COVID and building mutual aid in our community so that we could find each other in the things that we needed. We didn't want to wait for Donald Trump. We didn't want to wait for Ted Wheeler. But we knew we could count on the people in our community, and we knew that intersectional building was necessary. So you look at, 100 plus days later, and us all being here together, everybody healthy, everybody happy, everybody together, the children are together. I mean, this is what we should have happening in this community.
is that like it offers an opportunity to have support, whether that's like you need someone to help you move, or you like looking for a job, or you just need somebody to hear you. And I think that community is like what feeds us beyond, you know, just bread.
Ownership is like start a business. You have to start. I don't care what it is. Like I don't care if it's a table in a street corner in your front yard, whatever it looks like. Few t-shirts, 5, 10, whatever you can afford. Put your money up. Start the process. Because as soon as you get comfortable with that, the sky's the limit.
The guy who's the manager had like a camera set up, so we were able to collaborate, and we gave him the footage behind him.
Start dancing.
Yeah, it's really good work. It's really good work. And so I'll share these with the wider world soon. Yeah, it was impressive.
What resonates with you seeing all these people out here together at this picnic? Well, this is my neighborhood park. I just live down the street. Okay. So I'm like here almost every day. Okay. So I end up walking through. It's been like sort of a really nice spot to spend time in because it's been so active even during the session.
Are you registered to vote?
Absolutely. Are you ready to vote?
Oh, you already know.
Yes, sir. Are you registered to vote?
Yes, I am, and this year will be my dad's first year voting.
Hey.
City Repair ADX. There's more, but you don't have to keep watching it. This is a Nikasi hat. And no one is obligated to stay, but there's more. Why?
I know, right?
Whoa. Who's that?
Oh no. Oh yeah, there's you.
No one online is here, so it's just us.
Thank God. I was dead ass. What happened to Joseph?
He's living his life.
Yeah.
But it's about empathizing, it's about feeling, it's about listening, and then it's about acting.
Right.
So that's why the big teaching series that we're working on is this 3-part series where we're going to be focusing a lot, as Ali was saying, on housing, on gentrification, on displacement, on confinement, as well relates to anti-Black racism in this community.
We are not positioning ourselves as the creators of knowledge. We are really synthesizing.
Oh, with the maiden name. I know, and the Alexandria. The full. Hi, baby.
More visibility to people who are even living.
Okay, so basically the head is really giving the foundation.
Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Does anyone call you Alexandria? No, only when I'm in trouble. I feel like I've never heard anyone call you Alexandria, nor would you probably like readily answer to it. I would if someone said it. Yeah, you'd be like, oh, what? Sometimes with like
so that we're all
what's it called? Oh, like pickup orders right now. That's my credit card.
And for that, we're bringing in some scholars to help educate us. So that's the head. And then the heart is really like, okay,
I'm like, I like that. Let's put her back.
How does it connect? How does it connect to Black folks in the community who have lived here, before when, yes, they were forced to be confined, but then created this vibrant community and then lost that community.
And so that is about centering residents who have lived in Portland their whole life for generations, and really asking them, like, what hasn't meant to you
like dandelion things
have
into
a
my room.
community and then and then given everything that's happened, where do you want to go? Where do you go? So that's the heart. And then bringing community coalitions and bringing that are discussing gentrification, that are pushing back, that are resisting, and then they say, okay, this is the work that we've been doing, and so this is the foot is the action piece. So this is the part where we're like, all right, let's get exactly roll up their sleeves and make it happen. And so that is the way that we're conceptualizing it. And the thing that Allie and Michael and I, the three of us, have really talked about as people from equalization hope is that we, although we really do care about displacement and gentrification, our goal as an organization is to curate spaces, educational spaces where folks can come together, educate each other, and start acting, and really carry that thread of the head, the heart, and the foot throughout. But we're not going to then go like take up the picket signs and be the ones like carrying out, trying to put pressure on the lawmakers and whatnot. We're trying to convene these spaces so that folks can come in, do their thing, and then get to work. And so this theme, this topic is what we're working on right now, but then there's going to be other shifts that we're going to talk about that's important and moving more folks so that they can get involved. We take very seriously the inequity of activist labor that we've seen going on throughout all of history, and understand that a lot of times Black folks and Indigenous folks are doing a ton of unpaid labor while white folks are like sitting on the sidelines or getting paid in their money or whatever it is. Asking and taking and taking. Exactly. And so people from mutual education rely
Earlier
on
you chimed in and was like,
labor.
think about
And
motherfucking.
I mean, right now we're like, counting pennies and we're applying for grants and we're doing everything that we can to like gather the resources, but we have the goal of paying Black folks for their time, their wisdom, and their labor while creating spaces where white folks are doing their work for quote free. I mean, this is the debt that we owe, and that is like very important to our
I've done a podcast.
Thank you so much for all your help with the grant, and we're just so honored to be awarded. It's the fruits of the funds are on there right now. So, well, not all of them, unfortunately. Yes, I believe that. I really do. For me, I feel so yeah. Now that I don't know. I'm usually the first summer grants, and I'm like on the chance to get college grad with ESU. It feels like so it's kind of fun to be on the other side. I'm like, I don't know, it's great. I'm still this probably I'm also still like, no, like, yeah. You don't know what to expect, but at least
As a white person, that's just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't feel like I should.
For sure. I mean, what I would say is that you're always being active. You are always an agenda person. If you are deciding to stay on the couch and do nothing,
we're so grateful. Seriously, this is the first grant that we've ever received.
Our house is okay.
And so we're honored, and it has all the check
We're
marks.
here. You're gonna have your pizza. I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah, that's like, it's like hard to do anything like reinforce people, even if they still okay, but it still feels like it's I will instead of just like focusing on racial justice, social justice. I'll get thinking when we can do time.
And collective and relatable. Our shared humanity, and so to not pick up that mantle that we sort of sit
I am in graduate family or it's an educational leadership on the critical care education.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to like understanding that we are both having
And I was like, hold on, there's
one
no high.
of my mentors
It's really yeah. So I worked in art design, which is how I use art program. Well, you know, and then in March I got connected.
don't know about Japanese internment. Down all of this shit that has been founded by the bone of the flesh.
Yeah, the high. I was doing it by myself.
So that we get put down all the time. And so people like safety dynamics, when they're 18 to like be empowered by
Well, I just mean like,
You know, if it works, it works.
You said education policy?
Yeah, the department is educational leadership and policy. In the program is basically like post-secondary adult continuing education. So basically all of the curriculum is tailored to help work in higher education in either like student services or
That's like a lot of things. I
various
feel like
levels
that
of
are
administration.
also work kids.
And then
Like,
there's
oh,
also
I
like
did it, and
just
now
like
I like look through
adult
pictures and I
economic
cry. I'm like, oh my god.
side that I
Who
wasn't
would've thought
really
of
interested in because I
this
really want to focus my work in higher education.
But yeah, we're so grateful for your support. And thank you for lending my book.
I actually wrote another pamphlet that's ready to go on like system organization. Kind of explains like previous ones.
Seriously, it's like off the street a little bit. Tomorrow, Corey just let me know that typically there's a free meal search, so we're gonna set up
What about you?
over
What do you
there.
do?
So people will be coming.
Gosh.
Organizing VBC.
Yeah, it was a fair amount, and then we had one workshop that was like,
We'll be over in that little
we have like a 5-day intensive placemaking design course.
change
That was
up
a lot
anything,
to
just let us know.
plan,
We're not gonna move like
do outreach, and there wasn't enough
Okay.
all live.
attendance, we cancel it. On one hand, it's like,
Yeah, we're toaster.
but then in the end, it felt good. It's like all the work just like leads us to being able to
Okay.
be ready for when we try again. And just so many things to do in a row, so all just like, yeah. Yeah, normally this convergence would be at just 10 days of some of us like
Okay. Yeah, I absolutely will. And I hope you saw we gave
some
a
years
little
it's
acknowledgement
like,
about
this
the
is fun, let's go, and then others are
we
like, I
were
can
able to do a
crash.
logo space that we just, you know,
All the elements just happen because you're stretching your immune system and
yeah, that
just
would be
light.
amazing. I don't know.
Nonstop. Did you? So last year you had like stuff planned
would it,
and
so
then
it would
COVID
be
hit
about
and
a
you had to
particular
like
issue,
shift,
like
or were you
the Ramos
kind of planning when COVID was taking off and were able to adapt fairly easily?
I wonder if at the end of the
We
day,
were able to adapt.
we could do a report on it. But since you all do have those civic connections, I could talk to Blue.
The one thing was like
who's been really
halfway,
driving our energy
like we were
around this particular
normally
issue. And
have like a cohort of like speaking communities,
he has experience with
25 to like 40. And like install the project.
Yeah, I know Jessica.
Yeah, and both during like the VBC, but also like through the summer, so it doesn't have to be like just from this time frame.
Okay.
So we're like halfway through the program when COVID hit. So that all deposited. A couple of them were able to install last summer, but
Okay. Wow. All right. Let me talk to Blue.
Are you able to do more than this year?
See what he thinks.
we are.
He's so enthusiastic and passionate about it that
During the VBC, not really, or yet, but like the biggest thing has been for the city.
we'll let them carry it all the way home. Whatever they want to do. Yeah, that would be
Regulated.
incredible. Seriously.
So
Thank
last
you for
summer,
offering that.
and I know like right now they're doing virtual, so that's kind of this summer they
No, we're all used to it.
have it. But I like this idea of hybrid. Permitting process is just open, so like no one's ready to do it. So it'll be like a late June.
Totally. We're gonna
We've had some in the field things.
do the audio tomorrow the way it's been done,
Actually,
but Michael
let me turn
is
this
gonna
off.
do
This is on
Zoom. So
Facebook
if people
Live.
need to tune in
still
remotely, they
watching
can. Oh yeah, geez, so like, hey.
Hey, Facebook Live. We're still. I guess Michael's the only person, so I'm just gonna stop share.
Anyway, we're gonna have it set up so that the panelists can, you know, talk and do their thing.
Cool.
But the people can tune in on Zoom too. So yeah, we're feeling that also.
That's
As
awesome.
people are sort of incrementally and also in different ways engaging with the world.
Yeah, maybe get one of these sound things too.
Maybe you want to shut it down. I don't know. If you move the cursor all the way to the top right, you'll get to where the monitor behind you.
Anyway, thank you so much for all your support. This is incredible.
Yeah, just thank you for making this happen.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I've got like so many
I'm on
amazing
live.
people
I'm on
helping
live.
me.
I don't know how to stop the live.
Sam, Kirk, we're all, not Sam, Kirk, Sam, Michael. We're all part of Fee4Me. This is Machu from Southeast Uplift who gave us the grant. Nice to
Sam,
meet you.
good to meet you.
Yeah, Sam's another P from here.
Awesome. Like I said, the review committee, this is like, we had over 32 applications, and this was the very the highest once we tabulate the aggregated scores. So, well done.
Yeah.
People are enthusiastic about this.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, we'd be happy to come in and talk to him more.
Yeah.
Yes, a little Matosca's honorary P for me, always. Little Matosca. She's our